everyone, this is Tim Jennette, the Metal Meeple, and in this video we're taking a look at a game called Stockpile. It was published by Nauvoo Games in 2015. It was designed by Seth Von Orden and Brett Sobel. It's for 2 to 5 players and it takes about 45 minutes or so. And basically it's a stock trading game where you're trying to, you get some information at the beginning of each round on what a stock in a particular company is going to do. And you need to bluff your way into gaining a lot of that stock, but make people think it's going down so that you get paid out the most in the end. So basically, let's take a look at the game and we'll see how it plays. We'll come back and I'll tell you what I think. So here we have the setup for a 4-player game of Stockpile. The number of players will determine the number of rounds you're going to play. Each of the 6 companies will start at an initial price of $5,000 per share, and essentially these will fluctuate up and down throughout the game. Each player is going to receive $20,000, a little player board like this, in which when they get shares, let's give you one of the shares. When you get a share, you put it face down on the left side of the board. We'll come back to this other side, and each player is going to get a little bidding meeple. Now the idea is you're trying to collect shares from companies and sell them whenever you think that players are going to have information on those going down, or keep them if you have information on players going up. It's kind of a bluffing game. We'll show you how that works. So one player is going to receive the giant Stockpile first player marker, and they're ready to begin. The first thing that's going to happen, we're going to take these 6 company cards, which I have mine sleeved, but you have one of each of the 6 company cards. You shuffle those up, you give each player a card, and then one of them is going to go face up over here. And depending on the number of players, there might be additional ones off to the side face down. You do the same thing with the forecast cards, in which we have a couple of negatives. This means the company that you got. So if you got this company card here, Epic Electric, then it's going to go down by 2 points at the end of the round. If you got this one, it would go down -3. And the other ones are pretty simple. It either goes up by 2, 1, or 4, or you get the dollar signs, meaning that it's going to pay out dividends, and everybody with shares in that company is going to receive $2,000. Now obviously this information is pretty much hidden to you. Let's say this one goes here, this one goes face down, and the rest are given out to the players. Now you're pretty much ready to begin the round. We have a giant deck of shares here, which includes some other cards, action cards. Depending on the number of players, you're going to use these calculators. So in a 4-player game, you're going to use 4 of them. In a 3-player game, you'd use these 3. And then in a 5-player game, you'd add this one. And for 2 players, you actually use 4 of them, and you get 2 bidding meeples apiece. But for now, you get 1 bidding meeple, and we're going to pass out 1 card, or face up, on each one of these 4, since we're playing a 4-player game. In addition to that, each player is going to receive 2 cards, and in turn order, they're going to look at these. They're going to determine which one they want to place face up in any pile. These are called stock piles. So say we put it there. And your other card's going to go face down in one of the piles. It can be the same, it could be different. So once players have done that, it's going to look, you know, something like this. At that point, players are going to take their bidding meeple, like I said, in player order. You're going to place it on one of these calculators. You can go as far as you want. It starts at 0, 1, 3, 6, 10, 15, 20, 25. 25 being the highest that you can bid for something, so you can't be outbid at that point. Say I start and I want to go for this pile. I place it on the 3. Green comes by and thinks, hey, I like that pile too. It has the most cards. Goes for the 10. He can't bid on the same number, but he can bid anywhere above me. If he does, it's going to return my meeple back to my hand, and on my next turn, I can place it out elsewhere. So players are going to keep bidding on different things, returning people's meeples back to their hand, and eventually, each pile is going to have a meeple on it. At that point, you're going to collect the cards that you bid on. So let's say we're yellow in this case. You're going to collect the cards, see if there's any trading fees, and you're going to pay the amount that you bid on it. So in this case, yellow paid $3,000, blue paid $15,000, green paid $3,000, and so did red. Now, sometimes you're going to receive trading fees in your hand. Trading fees are going to cost you that much money. A lot of time players are going to put these face down in different piles. Sometimes they place them face up if there's other face up information there that's really good, and that's to kind of balance it out. Maybe people don't want to go after it because they might have to pay extra money. Not only do you have to pay what you bid for it, but you also have to pay the trading fees. Any of the stocks that you acquire after that is going to go face down on your portfolio on the left-hand side. And then in player order, if they've collected any action cards, which are basically these two, they're going to perform those. The first one is a stock boom. This means you can raise one stock by 2 points. Any of the 6, it's not restricted to the cards that you collected. It's just any of the 6. The other one is a stock bust, in which you are going to lower one by 2. Same rules apply. So any of those. Once this has been done, we move on to the next phase, in which players are going to sell their stock. Now, this happens before you get to see all these different cards, the forecast cards at the beginning of the round that each player got. So you're trying to use the information of why did players place certain things in different piles, why did they bid on certain piles, and also why did they try to bid somebody up a lot but then get out of it, you know? So maybe they know that something's going out. But in this round also, it does player order. So let's say red is the first player and they collected 2 shares of blue. However, red also has, so say blue had this company card here, red player had this company card, and they also had the -3. They know that the shares for that is going to go down by 3 at the end of the round. So they might try to get past that by selling their blue shares. For every share that you sell, you're going to receive the money for that company. In this case, it's $5,000. So that player would get $10,000, $5,000 apiece. The rest of the shares stay on their portfolio board, and it goes in turn order. So say blue is next, and maybe he collected a blue share. He might be like, well, I really want to follow red's lead and sell my shares as well and get out of that blue business. And it goes around the table, and you can do this kind of a bluffing way. Say you got like 4 of the same color from one pile. Maybe you can sell 2 of them and make everyone else sell their shares, but then you have the +4 card and move up that same company 4. The reason you might do this is because if any of these go up to the $ at the very end, it splits that stock. So in this case, say blue went up and split. Once it splits, it goes back down to 6, and any over, it keeps going. So if it was at 9 and you gain +4, it would go 1, 2, back down to 6, 3, 4. Any of the stocks that split, you're going to look at on your board. Let's say yellow did in this case, since I don't have the blue cards. You could reveal any stocks that had split and put them on the right side of your board in this split stock portfolio. This means for all intents and purposes, they're counted twice. Even when you sell them, so if you sell one for $9,000, it would be $18,000 a piece. The ones over here would only be $9,000. That's pretty much split stocks. Once they go down to the trash can, however, that means that stock has busted. It will go back to 5 as a reset. And in addition to that, any cards that you had on your portfolio in the normal portfolio or split stocks have to be revealed and placed in the discard pile. You lose all those. Once the selling and the forecast phase is done, you move on to the next round. You collect all these let me go back for a sec. Each player goes in order of revealing their forecast cards, their company, and if it goes up or down. In addition to that, you also do the ones that are here, that are face up, and you also reveal the one that's face down. No matter how many players you're playing, at the end of each round, all 6 of these companies will go up or down based on those cards. And sometimes, like I think in a 5-player game, the last pile, the last pile I think is placed face down. I can't remember, but so you're trying to look at other people and what they're doing through that round to see what what they're getting rid of and what they're liking and stuff like that. In addition to that split stock, if for any reason yellow splits again while you have split stock, you immediately reveal these and you gain $10,000 a piece. Any new stock that you gain automatically goes over on the left-hand side, so it doesn't just keep going to the split stock. It's only for the cards you had at the time that company split. Anyway, you're going to play a number of rounds. After you finish with that, you gather up all these cards again, you pass them out, and you do the same thing over and over. Also, at the end of the round, you pass the first player marker to the person on your left, so they become the first player for the next round of the game. And you keep going a number of rounds. At the end of the final round, every player is going to reveal however many stocks they have in a specific share, or how many shares they have in a specific stock. So if the blue player had 2 blue cards and 1 blue card that was a split stock, he would have 4 shares in that company. The majority holder is going to receive 10 grand, and any ties amongst the highest, no matter how many ties there are, they'll receive 5 grand apiece. So in a 4-player game, if everybody has 4 stocks of yellow at the end of the game, then everybody's going to receive $5,000. After you determine who has the majority of shares, then you sell every share that you have on your board, and whoever has the most money will be the winner. In addition to the normal board, the other side actually has different layouts for each company. Most of them are pretty simple. They're either just lower amounts, so this one skips numbers, this one goes up, and they have different starting values. They also have different numbers that they go to whenever it splits or busts. On top of that, Stanford Steel, every time it passes one of these dollar signs, it's going to pay dividends of $1,000 for each share that you want to reveal. In addition to that, another expansion to the game would be these investor cards. These investor cards you give out to each player. You would give out 2. They would select one and put the other one in the discard pile. But they determine your starting money. So you can see Billionaire Bill here has the most starting money. And then it goes less than that for the rest of them, but they get a special ability. So Broker Bernie, anytime he has to pay trading fees from those cards that say trading fee, instead he gains that much money instead of losing that much money. This guy can, once per round, move up 1 stock up or down 1 point. He can, Discount Donald can, he pays 1 space less that you bid on. So if you bid on 20, then you would only pay for 15. However, you're still taking up that 20 spot for contesting purposes. So these just give a little bit more variety. Anyway, let's see what I think. This is a solid game. When I say solid, I mean solid. It flows really well. It's not very long. You could pretty much teach it to anyone. I'll be honest with you, the theme didn't interest me that much, and only because I am terrible at stock trading. I get it, but when you're playing a board game, you know, obviously some of the other games are a little bit more complex. This is very streamlined, very to the point, and it's really fun. And when it says 45 minutes, I mean, that's 4 players. You can teach and play this game in an hour. I mean, there's not even really AP that can be had in the game, just because there's not a lot. There's a lot to think about, but it's mostly like, is he bluffing? Is he not bluffing? And do I want to spend that much money? Or do I want to go for something a lot cheaper but a lot less cards? So there's a lot of strategy there, especially in the bluffing and reading people. Super fun. It's definitely a gateway style game. However, you can play the advanced rules with the other side of the board, and that makes it a lot fun because you don't, you're trying to go for certain different shares that other people might just want to avoid because maybe it doesn't pay off as quick, or maybe they want to get the ones that pay off really fast, or the ones that give you dividends, stuff like that. The investor cards, really cool idea. It gives everybody different abilities and stuff like that. What's really cool is that I don't think there's really a standard, I don't see people taking this game and saying, you got to play with the investors, or you got to play with the other side of the board. Everything about it is just solid. It works really well. I like it a whole lot. I mean, this is a lot of fun. And like I said, I don't really play a lot of stock trading games or try to get into those style of games just because I know mentally I'm just, maybe I'm not into it so much, so I don't focus as much on it as I should. But in this game, it was just like, snap, I got it. I mean, this is awesome. I like the bluffing mechanism where, you know what's going to happen this round. And sometimes that doesn't play out too well because maybe the cards get dealt out and there's not any of the yellow cards out there. So the yellow company, the Epic Electric or whatever, you're like, well, I mean, how do I bluff this? There's no one with those shares and, stuff like that. But for the most part, it works out. There's a good amount of the cards in the deck and everything, and I don't even remember that happening, but maybe once to me, and maybe it happened to other players and they just kind of went through it or whatever. But super awesome game. I definitely recommend you checking it out. If it remotely looks interesting, I think you're gonna have a lot of fun with this. Now, maybe you want to move into the advanced stuff a lot faster than some people, but I think that if you're going to get this specifically to play just the base game with none of the expansions, none of the investor cards or the other side of the board, you're going to have a lot of gameplay out of here. And if you want to add the rest in, great, but I don't think it's necessary. And like I said, you could flip-flop around. You could play it one day with this, one day with the advanced rules, and still have a lot of fun. So anyway, feel free to email me at timjennette@gmail.com or follow me on Twitter below. And until next time, keep on rocking and rolling dice.
Thanks so much for watching the Dice Tower videos. Find more great videos and reviews, as well as our top-rated audio podcast at dicetower.com. You can also find other great shows at dicetowernetwork.com. I'm Eric Summerer, and you've been watching The Dice Tower. The Dice Tower is sponsored by Cool Stuff Inc., where you can find great games for great prices. Cool stuff in stock. Check them out at coolstuffinc.com.